function, which is jointly sponsored by the Caribbean Research Center and Medgar Evers College Library. We're also very pleased to be able to welcome you to an event like this, which is, for us, first. Because the Caribbean Research Center, which was established in 1986, has been engaged in a number of research projects and a number of conferences engaging some of the committed minds of the Caribbean immigrant community here in New York. But for the first time, we are pulling the research material off the shelves, shaking off the dust, and committing ourselves to presenting this material to the public. Because we recognize that no matter how good our intentions are, we are not achieving anything unless the research we carry out produces results. It can have some meaning not only to other scholars, but to the community among which we do the research. There are many people who have done research in various areas and have not made any effort to return anything to the community from which they drew the material for their research. But we feel at the Caribbean Research Center that one of our first responsibilities is to identify issues that can relate directly and positively to public policy which can change the quality and standard of life of our Caribbean American immigrants in this city and in this state. We welcome you to this evening's function, not only because it is an occasion of celebration for us, but because we recognize that by your making the special effort to come, you're demonstrating your own personal interest and commitment to academics, as well as to the social and moral issues that affect our people. We appreciate this, so that in welcoming you, we're welcoming the spirit in which you've come, and the commitment that you've brought with you to this evening's function. We have a very short program lined up for you, and right after the program inside the auditorium, through the courtesy of our president, there will be a reception in the lobby outside. We trust that this evening's short program will be stimulating for you. I don't know how many of you here are among the people who actually helped to produce the works that we are presenting tonight. But I'm sure that if you're sitting in the audience as one of the contributors to the work that has been done, your joy is even greater than mine, because I'm a newcomer to the scene. This is the fruit of your labors. I'm like a Johnny-come-late, swimming in the waters that you cleared up. And I'm enjoying it. So please, enjoy this evening. It is for you, not for me. We're going to receive the president at this time, the person of Dr. Edison O. Jackson. To most people in New York City at this time, Dr. Jackson needs no introduction. Chairmen usually get up and make statements like that. But this time, I think I am on pretty solid ground when I say that. Because in his short stint here at Medgar Evers College, not only has he made a major and a significant mark on the college, on the student population, on the faculty, on the staff, but on the community around this college. He's in churches, he's in schools, he's in community organizations. You look for him where the people are. I mean, where the real people are. You'll find him there. The person I'm about to cede the podium to is the distinguished president, third president, just recently inaugurated, Dr. Edison O. Jackson.
Thank you, Dr. Irish, and to distinguished colleagues at the head table, and to those of you who are assembled here this evening. On behalf of the college family, we would like to extend warm words of greetings to all of you, and to say that this indeed is a celebration of great work. Celebration of an undertaking that took several years for us to complete the task, but the result is something that is of mighty importance to what we are about as an institution of higher learning. And we see ourselves as a change agent. And certainly the Caribbean Research Center has been in the forefront of developing research, developing information that can be used to inform and to direct public policy in this borough, in this city. I'm especially happy because, as Dr. Irish talked about, that he's a Johnny-come-lately, so am I. There were many who paved the way and served as a beacon light and working in the vineyard to bring about these publications today. Therefore, then our responsibility is to take these publications and bring them to life in terms of making sure that those findings are published or discussed so that we can have a positive impact upon what is occurring in our community, and especially as it impacts upon the Caribbean community in this city. My special thanks to the scholars who undertook the research that made it possible for these publications to be completed and to be published. Were it not for their systematic approach to studying the issues and the problems, we would not have the quality documents that we are now witnessing and that we have in our possession. This is just the beginning of great work in partnership with the Caribbean Research Center and this institution. The Caribbean Research Center is an integral part of our mission and our responsibility to this community. And therefore, I have an enormous sense of pride in being a part of this celebration, because it is a great day for Medgar Evers College, the Caribbean Research Center, and the community at large. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the great program that we have in store for you this evening. Again, thank you for being with us. It is great having you in our midst.
The next gentleman in the program, unlike Dr. Jackson and myself, so many programs, so many activities, that I often wonder, how does he manage to keep the pace up? And yet, he finds time to pay attention to the little things that happen at the Caribbean Research Center. And it's not just a token interest. I recognize that there is a genuine interest in what is going on, because, as I've said to him, to other people on previous occasions, anybody who repeatedly takes time off, even just to pick the phone up and say hi, how are things going? Hang in there. Financial situation may be tough, but have you tried so-and-so? Do you think we can try so-and-so? That is the kind of person I think I can relate to on an advisory board. And the gentleman who demonstrates that kind of interest is Mr. Roy A. Hastings, Sr. He's not only chairman of our advisory board, but president, chief executive officer of the Caribbean Chamber of Commerce and Industry.
Thank you very much, Dr. Irish. While Dr. Irish was speaking, Dr. Harrell mentioned that it's because I have a good wife. That's why I do all these things, and I want to thank my wife for her support. Dr. Irish, Mr. President, President Jackson, Ambassador Tony, Your Excellency Larry Russo, members of the advisory board, members of the press, members and staff of the Caribbean Research Center, and kids, and members of staff and faculty at Medgar Evers College, members of the advisory board. It is indeed a pleasure to bring greetings on behalf of the members of the advisory board of the Caribbean American Research Center on this special occasion. The grand celebration of this first major publishing event is really a historical event. We also extend congratulations to you, President Jackson, on your inauguration as the third president of Medgar Evers College of the City University of New York. For those of us who have been associated with the center since before its inception in 1985, remember the excitement and enthusiasm with which we greeted the arrival of the center, which we all hoped would provide research, education and training, and information on Caribbean immigrants in New York City and in the United States. Over the years, we've participated in the seminars and workshops and other special events. We have attended advisory board meetings and shared our thoughts and ideas in an effort to help the center to grow. We welcome the opportunity today to celebrate the scholarly achievements of the center, as well as to pledge our support to its continued growth and development. However, it is with mixed feelings, for while on the one hand we celebrate, on the other hand we are all too well aware of the dismal and gloomy fiscal climate which threatens the lifeblood of the Caribbean Research Center, with its decrease in staff at a time when it is badly needed to provide scholarly research. The sunk data that it was established to create. At a time in New York City's history when there is a growing concern about racial tensions and ethnic unrest, when immigrants groups are engaging in confrontations and disputes, we need the center's clear, pragmatic, and sound research. We need the center to act as our mechanism to help us to bring about the social, economic, health, and political changes that affect Caribbean American and other people of color. We urge you, Mr. President, President Jackson, As you think about the broad goals and priorities for the college as a whole, continue to reach out to those of us in the community who want to work with you to enhance the growth of the center of Medgar Evers College. The members of the advisory board look forward to working with you to help you to achieve your goals, and also urge you to support our hard-working director, Dr. George Irish. For as you succeed, we all succeed. As the center grows, so does the college and the community it serves. Again, I want to thank you very much for listening to me. If I have to leave at 7:15, I have to attend our community board meeting. I want to wish you well. Thank you very much for coming, and good luck to everyone. Thank you.
It's now my pleasure to introduce to you the Chief Librarian, Dr. Susan Nicolescu, who is placed in an institution that I contend is unique in many ways. Medgar Evers College is unique for its location. It's unique for its composition, student population, particularly because of the strong Caribbean component among its student population. It's unique in that it's perhaps the only tertiary institution across the United States that has a research center set up exclusively for investigating Caribbean affairs. The library of this college also stands to be unique in being one of the strongest Caribbean libraries, having a section Caribbean materials. It's one of our hopes that out of the marriage of the Caribbean Research Center and the library of Medgar Evers College, not only the Brooklyn community, but the entire academic and public community of New York will have the privilege of enjoying the benefits of a strong Caribbean library and documentation center. I present to you, ladies and gentlemen, the person who is in a position to engineer that, Dr. Nicolescu.
President Jackson, Dr. Irish, guests, colleagues, and friends, good evening. It is indeed a pleasure to be here and in some small way share in this memorable occasion. In the history of our civilization, the concept of wealth has taken various shapes. During the Middle Ages, the wealthy man acquired lots of land. During the modern age, ignited by the Industrial Revolution from the time of the discovery of movable type by Gutenberg in the 15th century, the wealthy man possessed lots of currencies. Today, however, whether you believe it or not, the wealthy man is he who gets or to know how to get the most accurate and timely information to meet his needs. There are many sources and ways of obtaining such needed information. Printed materials, such audio and visual tape recordings. Marshall McLuhan, the Canadian communications specialist, in his book, Media is Message, glorifies these new audiovisual resources above printed materials. I challenge such a theory of communication derived only by the format rather than by the content of these resources. He predicts that the new media will flourish and the printed materials will perish. Yes, I agree that all these new media are part of our way of living today, but they flash on our face with fire and mold, then fade away, leaving us very little space and time to form sound opinions. Printed materials, on the other hand, have lasting value by staying with readers while they nourish the reader's body and mind. They have enriched and expanded human creativity, imagination, knowledge, and therefore power, which has differentiated man from other beings over the last 6 centuries. I, as an information specialist, firmly believe that printed materials are here to stay and to last forever. With this in mind, then, you may also ask that in this era of phenomenal technological development and ever-expanding information sources, why it is so difficult and often impossible to provide more readily the literature of various ethnic, cultural, and racial experiences to the general public. This is especially true in the case of the African American and the Caribbean American experiences. In my opinion, there are several reasons for this. Today, the literature of the African American or Caribbean American experiences goes out of print too quickly and or waits too long for publication, both probably due to preservation and economic factors. Furthermore, the difficulty of obtaining literature of the Caribbean region and the Caribbean communities here in the United States persists without much positive solution in sight. In order to redress this imbalance, various Black Writers' conferences and or similar gatherings, like the one here tonight, should address the urgency of encouraging African American, Caribbean American writers to think, write, and publish their personal experiences and research efforts through diverse publishing mediums such as university presses and the small public and private presses. Our Caribbean Research Center Press is an excellent example in this latter category. It provides a much-needed scholarly forum and artistic product for meeting our needs. President Jackson, you have shown your keen commitment to and the support for the development of our Caribbean Research Center and its excellent projects that respond to the research needs of our community. Dr. Irish, you and your staff, by forming and enhancing the CRC Press, have addressed many pressing issues through the present 5 publications concerning the Caribbean region, its people, history and culture, and their relation to the world. My hope is that this important enterprise will flourish and thereby serve the Caribbean American community with timely and scholarly information with pride. All members of Medgar Evers College, particularly the librarians, applaud your sincere effort and accomplishment and wish a continued success for the Caribbean Research Center Press. Thank you.
contributors, scholars who did the hard work. To make the introductions, I'm going to invite Dr. Medgar Clark, who has done all of the work coordinating, pulling together all this material, particularly during the 1988-89 year, persuading people to complete research projects. And that is no easy task, because anybody who has to deal with academics know that they are the last set of people to invite to respect timetables and deadlines, even when it comes to submitting their examination grades. You've got to police them. And to get them to complete research projects, especially if promotion is not involved, is the task of your life. So that I commend most highly Dr. Clark for the effort I know she must have put in to convince and cajole people into completing their work, so that we could have what we have tonight. Dr. Clark.
Director of the Caribbean Research Center, Dr. George Irish, President of Medgar Evers College, Dr. Jackson, Mr. Roy Hastic, President of the Caribbean Advisory Committee, authors, ladies and gentlemen. This evening, we have met to celebrate a great moment in the history of the Caribbean Research Center. Today, we are presenting to you 5 landmark publications. I'm sure you have heard this many times before. You have heard about the goals of the center, but they are so very important that I will have to constantly remind people of the goals of the center, what we have to do, because it's against these goals that we are evaluated. In 1985, the state legislature of New York gave an appropriation of $100,000 to establish the Caribbean Research Center with the purpose of, 1, to conduct research on the Caribbean population, and 2, to translate the findings into training programs and policies. Since 1986, we have been engaged in the research process. The work was long and arduous. I'm reminded of the actor, the film director who wanted to make a film. He wanted a tiger to spring onto a young girl. Only tiger he could get was an old, mangy one who would not spring. And after cajoling with carrots and everything, nothing happened until he got a piece of electric wire. And he attached to the tiger, and it sprang up, and you, the audience, will know the reaction. The work was long and arduous, but today, like the film director, we have our reward. The reward of 4 works presented to you this afternoon. The first work is Establishing New Lives. This is on the history, the sociological, economic dimensions of the Caribbean population. The work was started by the former director of the center, Dr. Medgar Evers, who commissioned the work in 1986. During the 88-89 year, the work were completed under my direction, and I acted as director. Also during that year, other works were started, 3 other works: Native Landscapes, an anthology of Caribbean short stories, Adjustment of the Caribbean Immigrants immigrants in New York City, educational dimension, and adjustment of Caribbean immigrants in New York City, social and economic dimensions. During the current year, the President Director, Dr. Irish, he did all the administration of the publishing process. And for this year, we present these works to you. They are the first fruits of our labor. It took a long time, but we are here. I must congratulate all the authors. They did an excellent job in doing the research on the Caribbean population, where little data on this population exists. But today, it is your day. You have made history. I will therefore present to the audience this evening the members, the authors who have conducted research and whose works are embodied in the publication. The first work, Establishing New Lives. All the authors are not here this afternoon. Some are in the Caribbean and elsewhere in the United States. But I will introduce those who are here and mention the others. First work is Maternal and Child Health Profile of the Caribbean Population in New York City by Yvonne Graham. Yvonne, will you please stand? Association and her contribution was third. The next is the changing relationship between Caribbean men and women in New York City by Dr. Joyce Tony. Dr. Tony, I'm sure you are here. Oh, Dr. Tony. She's an assistant professor of history at Upstate University. The next work is a profile of migrant Jamaican nursing service during 1960 to 1989 by Martine Nicholson. She's not here. She assured me that she would have been here. Probably she will a little late. Housing and employment for West Indians in New York City. Housing and employment. Two works. A demographic summary by Thomas Brand. Thomas. Researcher for the New York City Commission on Human Rights and now the Department of Probation in New York City. Next is a description of some perceptions and psychological features of Jamaican immigrants in New York by Dr. Jama Adams. Apparently he's not here this afternoon, but he's down on the program. I think he had an emergency and he could not be here. Other works are by Impact of the New York Immigration Policies on Family Reunification and Gender Relations by Dr. Monica Gordon. She had to be in Florida this afternoon. The Impact of the New York Immigration Experience on the Structure of the Immigrant Family, Anna Barrett. She is in Jamaica. Martin Affleck, Consumer Attitudes and Behavior, also in Jamaica. So those, ladies and gentlemen, are the works of Establishing New Lives, the first work published by Caribbean Research. The next work will be the Native Landscapes, which is an anthology of Caribbean short stories. And these works are put in alphabetical order. The Death and Birth of Conrad Graham by E.B. Baisden. Baisden, please stand. Educator, journalist, and Caribbean short story writer. The next work is And the Monkey Takes My Son by Jacqueline Bradshaw. Please stand. Teacher in New York and a short story writer. The next work is Mango Time, Naughty Moses. Please stand. Editor of Newsweek magazine, a contributor to Carrie News, and New York correspondent to the Trinidad and Tobago Guardian. Morillo. The treasure hunt. She's a Jamaican, a linguist, and a short story writer. Is she here? The next is A Call of the Ocean by Samoth Nareen. He's in Guyana. Are you Mr. Nareen?
Yes, I am.
Oh, welcome. Your relatives told you that you lived in Guyana, but you are here for the occasion.
Yes.
We are very happy. The next is Pammy Dear Pammy by Marion Fry. Is Fry here? Oh. A professional journalist who writes a weekly advice column for Caribbean News. You must have read her. She's also a short story writer. Welcome. Hyacinth and Lorna Fagan. One is in Florida and the other in Jamaica, so they couldn't be here. The next is The Crossing by Edward. Kwame Brackway is a professor of history at the University of the West Indies in Jamaica too. And the introduction to the work was by Dr. Arthur Drayton, Trinidadian at the University of Capital. That's ladies and gentlemen, native landscape. The next work is called The Adjustment of Caribbean Immigrants, Educational Dimension, edited by Belka Clark and Bola Obedi. The first work is Teaching Cultural Awareness to Caribbean Immigrants by Dr. Bola Rande Obedi. You can see him by the road. He's an assistant professor from the University of Lagos, and he has been with the center for almost 3 years. We have worked very hard together on these works. He's in education. The next work was contributed by 2 practitioners in the field. You see, we divided the work into 2 sections. Dr. Obedi and myself did the research on the Caribbean immigrants, and then we went to the practitioners in the field to ask for the solutions. So we got the solutions, one from Dr. Myrna Elliott Lewis. Is she here? She's an officer of the New York City Board of Education and works in special education. Solution number 2 was received from Francisca Bonavita, who is the assistant principal, Dr. Bonavita, assistant principal of Prospect Heights High School, and he's very involved in a project which is dear to the Board of Education called Project Omega, which is especially for Caribbean students. So Dr. Lewis and Dr. Bonavita and Dr. Bailey and myself for adjustment of Caribbean immigration, education and dimension. The last work is also called Adjustment of Caribbean Immigrants in New York City, but this time the social and economic dimension, edited by Belka Clark and Veronica Uligalanya. The first work is by Veronica Uligalanya. It's called A Comparative Analysis of the Caribbean Immigrants in New York Admitted into this City. Veronica? Sorry, I think she must have had an emergency and couldn't be here this afternoon. But she is from the University of Nigeria and has been with the center for 2 years. The next work is by Winthrop Holder. This one here? He wrote on the relationship between the Caribbean communities in New York and the Caribbean communities in Canada. So those are the 3 works on adjustment of Caribbean immigrants in New York City. Many of your researchers are absent this afternoon for one reason or the other. Some are at their base in the Caribbean. Others are elsewhere in the United States. The Caribbean Research Center this evening has obtained the goal for which it was established. Much of the work is for information, which we hope you will read at some time later. But this evening, the fiction writers will present excerpts from their works. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, I have presented these authors who have made their contribution to the Caribbean community, to Medgar Evers College, and to academia. Their work will be a landmark on the sands of time, and as a reward for
authentic Caribbean narrative is like. Let's start with lady Dr. Elizabeth Nunes Herrera, novelist, short story writer.
Thank you, Dr. Irish, President Jackson, Dr. Hart, Nicolette, you colleagues. This is a very proud moment for me to see what the Caribbean Research Center has done. And I'll go right into my reading, and I would say to Nolly, who's heard what I'm going to read on another occasion, I hope you can bear with me. I'm going to read from my second novel, which is called Beyond the Limbo Silence. And its title comes from one of the authors that is in Native Landscape, Edward Brackett, a poet that I much admire. What has happened before, what I'm going to read is, the I character, who is not I, Elizabeth, me, Elizabeth, but it's an I character in the story, has just gotten a scholarship to Wisconsin. It's kind of similar to me, I gotta tell you. Anyhow, when she tells her grandmother that she received the scholarship to Wisconsin, her grandmother began to cry. And it was a very strange kind of reaction. Her grandmother wasn't happy. And her mother said to her, her grandmother said some mumblings about her great uncle was lynched in Georgia, and everybody dismisses that, don't even bother about it. And her mother says to her, the mother of the I character says to her, what's your problem? The Americans saved our lives. The Americans are angels. And the chapter begins. It was in 1956 that the Americans saved our family. Just a few weeks before our rescue, I had hardly known they existed. Not that there weren't Americans in the world. I knew they lived in a place called the States. Want to go to the States? Just came back from the States. Yeah, man, I have family in the States. I thought it was a stupid name to call a country the States. I once looked for it on the map. We had geography in elementary school. But the only countries we studied, of course, were England and Western Europe, sometimes Australia or New Zealand, rarely the Windward and Leeward Islands or the Caribbean. I knew where the Americas were, North America, South America, Central America, but not the States. I concluded it must be New York, since sometimes it will be used interchangeably with the States. Just came back from the States. Man, that New York airplane is cold, man. I had seen some Americans in Trinidad. They had built a military naval base in Chaguaramas on the northwestern seacoast, not far from Port of Spain. My uncles told me that they remembered the time when they used to ride their bicycles from Diego Martin to Tefton Bay, but it was difficult for me to imagine any Trinidadian lying on the beaches in Chaguaramas, for that place was as foreign to me and as distant to me as the States, though it was only a few short miles from where I lived. Sometimes I saw the Americans when they came to Port of Spain to shop. Yankees, we called them, as children, laughing at their clothes that no self-respecting Trinidadian would wear. Bright colored pants, sometimes sun yellow or shocking pink. They had no shame. Pants cut off at the knees like overgrown schoolboys. We laughed at their hairy legs. No shame. Even 11-year-old boys in my class begged their mothers for long pants. It was a mark of maturity, and the shirts they wore. They loved flowers. The bigger, the better. Splashes of hibiscus or coconut fronds, bougainvillea or upside-down flamboyant, whatever flowers they thought we grew in the tropics. The English loved flowers too, but they were much more sensible. Tiny little rosebuds, lilacs, a sprig of silver bells, it was part of their grand plan. The birds they bore to cultivate and civilize the wild and untamed. Then there was always the inevitable camera swinging on the necks of the Americans. We posed for them, laughing, wondering why they got us so upset when we refused their money. What for, we would ask. And even if we were tempted, how could we explain to mothers who knew everything that someone wanted to pay us just for standing there with our arms around each other acting the fool? On Jubilee, the first morning of our two-day carnival, when people wore their silliest costumes, we dressed up like them. Big men and women did the same. We put on the most outlandish colors we could find, clashing them against each other. blinding lime green with sunset orange, bleeding red with seawater blue, cameras swinging. We laughed at ourselves at talking Yankee talk with slurring R's and vowels that whizzed down our nasal passages. They had a fairy tale quality about them Americans. Loads of money, big cars, huge mansions, hardly any children. I never saw an American child before I was 20. Unreal. The stuff of calypsos and the make-believe world of carnival. They came in black and white, the Yankees, but I thought them all the same. American Yankees. As different from us as the English. Distinguished from them only by their accents and the fact that the English wore cultivated flowers on their clothes, straw hats with ribbons or more flowers, white gloves in the middle of the day. But the Americans became real enough for me that June of 1956, when my schoolmates began to get sick. June in Trinidad can be a month of contradiction. The two seasons meet there. The dry, swirling, parched, dry dust across burned brown grass, snapping twigs off of half-dead trees, the wet, rumbling thunder of round noontime, sending slivers of liquid silver rain gleaming in the sun. The devil and his wife fighting for a ham bowl, the children chanted. Such it was that June, the sun and the rain, the dry and the wet. We were accustomed to getting colds in that mixed-up weather. It made you stronger for August when the hurricanes came, my grandmother used to say. Do battle with the germ in June and you'll master it in July. So at first it was not strange that the children in my town were sick in June. The burning fevers in the morning, the cold shivers by afternoon. The pains in the limbs were different. We couldn't explain them. A different type of cold that year, the old people said. My grandmother told my mother to give me Senapod tea to drink every 3 days and to bathe me in shining bush tea water. Almost all the liquid brews in Trinidad are called tea. Children drank cocoa tea in the morning, adults had coffee tea at night, we drank black tea in between, we took orange peel tea for stomach aches and Senapod tea to cleanse our insides. I hated the taste of Senapod tea, not to mention the embarrassment of what it did to me, especially on a school day when everyone knew from my frequent trips to the lavatory that I had been forced to drink it. My mother put milk and sugar in it, but so that it would taste like black tea, but it never matched the bitter tea. When the sickness came that June of 1956, children all over Port Bay were going to the lavatory, and there were many accidents. For my shining bush tea bath, my mother sent a small bag of herbs that had been blessed, she said. We knew she did not mean blessed by the priest. And although my mother was a rigidly religious Roman Catholic, she dipped that bag once a day in my bath water. I asked her one night if the obeah man had blessed it. She slapped me. After my bath, she made me say the rosary with it. She said the first part of the Hail Mary, I said the second part. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour. I never heard the words, just the music, the rise and fall of her voice, the cadence of the line. Sometimes my mind drifted, but always on the beat of her blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus, I would respond, Holy Mary, Mother of God. Sometimes I thought of what we had done before the rosary. My mother would light a candle at the foot of the bathtub, dip the bag of herbs 3 times in the shining bush tea water, and make the sign of the cross. I wondered if the obeah man and our parish priest met at the street corner. My mother broke her silence. One night, my mother broke her silence during the ritual of the bath water. I really don't believe any of this, Sarah, she said, but we can't take any chances. This sickness is so different. But she believed. My friend Nancy was the first one to die in my school. She leaned over to me one day in class and whispered that her legs hurt her so bad she could hardly move. Where I am? Which part? The bones, she said, right in the very center. They had hurt her before, but not in the very center. I offered to tell the teacher, but she shook her head vigorously. It'll pass, she said. It had passed before. Her fever flared up after the noontime rain. We had found shelter under the sprawling leafy branches of a tamarind tree that shaded one corner of the schoolyard. It was still lunch recess, and while we had the freedom, nothing could send us back to those hot, stuffy classrooms, not even rain. By accident, I touched Nancy's face. I wanted to point something out to her, and my hand brushed her cheek. Her skin felt like burning coals. One second later, she slumped to the ground. She could not move. The headmaster picked her up in his arms and took her home in his car. She died the next day. We began to fear this June cold that gave fevers in the afternoon and pained the legs. The Sunday after Nancy's death, my unusual treat. My father, who only seemed to notice my existence peripherally when we sat together at mealtime, when my mother complained about something I had done, or when I gave him those innumerable plastic ashtrays for his birthday, suddenly seemed to notice that I existed the day that Nancy died. There were lots of questions. Did you and Nancy share your juice at lunchtime? Yes, we always did, drinking from the same bottle. We were friends forever, for eternity, we were sworn. Did you share your sandwich with her? Yes, we did. She took a bite of mine, I took a bite of her, and so on. That's how we ate our sandwiches. We were friends, sworn to eternity. Yet I did not give my father any of those answers that traveled through my mind. No, I answered to all his questions. Not knowing why, but grieving so for Nancy that I wanted to be fiercely loyal to her. I wouldn't tell her the things we did together. They were clear secrets in mine. My father was satisfied. I cried my heart out all that day for Nancy, as much as because she was dead, as because I wouldn't see her the next day. And we wouldn't be able to share our deep, dark secrets. The deepest and darkest of them about the silent and painful, mysterious transformations that were taking place under our nightgowns at night, without our consent and against our wishes. My father took me to the movies to console me in my grief. I was hardly consoled. I still thought of Nancy and her pain, the sudden and persistent aches in her leg. This too must be part of the transformation we had thought when she first told me of the pain in her leg. A dumb, dullish feeling, she said. The soreness around the nipple, the flesh that was pushing upwards, the funny sensation between the thighs, the bleeding, that legs had to be neck. It was only natural. I was envious. She would be taller. Her bones were stretching before mine. We didn't think it would hurt as much as it hurt her. I didn't think she would die. I thought of her for long hours at a stretch, of our folly, of my envy. If only I had told our teacher. Not that day, it was too late then, but on the days before when I wished that like her, my pains would come. Her bleeding had come before mine, and now her legs. If only I had told someone, I could have helped her. In the movie theater, my guilt grew. I felt the numbness begin in my toes, a dull pain. It rose up my legs. My knees felt weak. The Von Trapp family had escaped Vienna and were now singing in America. My father leaned over to me and whispered, only in America you will be a millionaire overnight. The hills are alive with the sound of music, he whispered again, but not if they were Negroes. I barely heard what he said, but in the flicker of light that crossed the screen, I glimpsed his memory. The anger there, raw and savage, sank deep into my memory. Now I only thought of how much angrier he would become if I told him I wanted to go home. My legs now felt like sandbags. They hung heavily from my knees. Then the pain began, in the very center of my bones. I tugged my father's sleeve. My legs, I whispered. He looked down on me. They hurt. He brushed his hand across my cheek. No fever, he said. But they hurt. I can't move. He touched my lips. I can't move them, I said. Let's go. He grabbed my hand. I can't move. He stood up. The people behind us grumbled. Could you wait until the end of the movie? He asked. I shook my head. I can't move, I repeated. He picked me up in his arms. That night, the Americans came to help us. I can only guess how my father persuaded them to come to our house. My father was working then for the Ministry of Labor. His job was to settle wage disputes and to stipulate working conditions for Trinidadians employed by foreign companies. It was my father's responsibility to see that our people were treated fairly. Ironically, his orders from the government at about that time made it appear that the opposite were true. He was the one assigned to inform the Americans that they could no longer pay wages to Trinidadians in US dollars. Trinidadians were discovering that with the rate of currency exchange, they could make a teacher's salary cleaning toilets on the American beach. They began to pour into Chagaramas in droves. The Americans found this amusing until my father stopped them. Workers could no longer be paid directly by the Americans. Wages had to be given to the Trinidadian government, which would in turn pay the workers based on the currency standards for fair wages. The Americans were furious. An unheard of demand, they said. Taking money from people was the first step to socialism. Communism to follow. Private enterprise, open competition, capitalism, monopolies, these had worked for them. How else would they get the best workers for the base? And what did it matter if some mother was finding it difficult to explain to her son that he needed to study math? The dollar was all that counted, and who needed math to clean a toilet? Oh. They blamed the British for their experiment in allowing a transitional government of local people. Independence was not guaranteed. sun never setting on lands they ruled was beginning to wear thin, lest the Americans leave the world. I remember the gifts that started arriving at our house from the Americans that year. Boxes of chocolates, cigarettes, chewing gum. My father returned them the next day, but the gifts kept coming. Each time more numerous, more expensive. Radios, cameras, watches. My father returned them all. The gifts became more tempting. A washing machine that caused such arguments between my parents when my father gave it back so that my mother did not speak to him for a week. Then a bicycle and a pair of roller skaters, the skates that sent me into a screaming frenzy when they were returned. But the night of my sickness, I saw the captain of the naval base hand my father a small box of chocolate and witnessed the humiliating smile of gratitude that crossed my father's face as he accepted it. The shock of that moment sawed my legs. The joints in my knees loosened. The cold, resolute chill that had taken hold of me in the cinema when I willed myself to feel Nancy's pain dissipated. It seemed unfair for a box of chocolate. The wide grin on my father's face, the dullness in his eyes. Captain McNeil slapping him hard on his back and flicking the ashes of his cigar on my mother's polished floor. I rushed to my father and grabbed the box of chocolates. I tugged hard. He held firm. We struggled again. The tears poured down my cheeks. He gathered me in his white arms and pressed my head against his chest. I heard the pounding of his heart. He beat fast and furious. He whispered in my ear, "It's all right, Sarah. It's all right. We'll all be well now. You won't be sick. We'll all be fine." I wanted to say I was sorry. His broken voice shamed me for my actions. But at that moment, the American captain put the needle in my arm, and I screamed instead. We were like thieves in the night, my family. Captain McNeil with his parcel of syringe filled with the salt of the vaccine. My father accepting the box of chocolates. All my cousins, the children of my father's brothers and sisters, lined up one by one, accepting the American protection. Polio raged through my town that year. June, July, August. The lucky ones died. The less fortunate were fed into the iron machine. The courageous accepted their twisted limbs and kept on going. September, the English colonists brought the vaccine to our town. But by then it was almost too late for the children who lived on my block. By Christmas, about 10 of them had disappeared. Thank you.
Spoil your appetite by making any comment. You're going to hear from another writer, non-English.
Mango Time is sort of a work in progress. It's part of a larger work about an individual I grew up with. And I picked a piece of what appears in the anthology that at least has something of an ending. Mrs. Michaels had a large backyard with plenty of fruit trees. We were quite familiar with them because we had conducted raids there before. But our spoils had never been satisfactory since it was a habit to keep a dog tied to one of the trees. Often we came away only with a couple of handfuls of plums. The plum tree was close to the road, so we would dash daringly into the yard and grab at the low-hanging branches before the dog figured out how to maneuver its long leash to intimidate us. That fateful afternoon, we were all terribly eager for the unique experience of a risk-less adventure. Bato, an occasional member of our gang and a mango hound, joined us when he learned of the mission. He was excited, though a little perplexed that Mrs. Michaels had sanctioned this assault on her premises. He lived a few houses away and had always been envious of the harvest she enjoyed. Although his backyard was as large as Mrs. Michaels, his mother grew flowers instead of more bountiful floral-like fruit trees. "I can't wait to get some of those Julies," Julies being a type of mango, Bato said first thing when we rushed out of the school questioned Beat about this unsolicited invitation. No one thought to. Here was one afternoon when we could indulge ourselves without fear of recrimination. Who was going to question that? Beat, after all, had those kinds of connections. If nothing else, we trusted his ability to convince anyone of anything. Why should Mrs. Michaels not succumb to the wiles of our fearless leader? No one thought to ask Beat why the house seemed shut tight when we entered the yard. We were concerned that Mrs. Michaels hadn't put in an appearance even after we had been there long enough to fill 2 cardboard boxes with mangoes. The dog was barking his head off, but since he was tied to the front of the house this time, we ignored him. Solomon, my brother, was shaking one of the mango trees. I was filling a 3rd box, and Carl, my friend, and Bato were up in another tree when we heard one of those whistles we used for coded communication. Solo and I turned around in time to see Beat and Vincent, his cousin, pelting down the street as if the devil was behind them. At the same time, we heard a woman's voice approaching from the side of the house. It didn't sound like she was bringing friendly greetings. Solo and I didn't even look at each other. Carl and Bato needed no warning either. They were close on our heels as Solo and I jumped across the small ravine which ran along one side of Mrs. Michaels' property. The 4 of us stopped abruptly when we realized all our books were still in the yard. A smart woman, being a teacher and all, Mrs. Michaels seized the books immediately, caused intention of the worst sort. Fright had not settled over us because we were still in shock. We had no choice but to go back to the house and plead with Mrs. Michaels. By this time, of course, everyone realized what a nasty trick he had played on us. All he carried that afternoon was a rolled-up copybook he kept in his back pocket. Vincent had done likewise, so they were both free of the predicament that snared the rest of us that afternoon. Fleet of foot just seconds ago, Solo, Carl, Bato, and I trotted back to the front of Mrs. Michaels' house. Beat and Vincent didn't even lend moral support. They turned this mischievous betrayal into their own private frolic, finding it utterly amusing. The rest of us were in no mood for jokes, but we were restrained from shoving their laughter back where it came from by the seriousness of this development. Mrs. Michaels was almost solemn. Never one to smile in excess, her face as waxen as the skin of the abundant Julie mangoes we had packed in the boxes. She eyed us obliquely as we approached. When she turned to face the sad company of defeated schoolboys who came to her gate for the 2nd time that afternoon, any thought of bravura any one of us might have entertained evaporated. She didn't wait for us to plead. In a voice devoid of anger, though securely triumphant, she told us that if we wanted our books, our parents would have to come to her house for them. The solution to the problem was that simple, according to her. Probably simultaneously, we all dismissed that thought, those words, to say nothing of how quickly we blanked the import of what she said from our young, devilish minds. None of us was going to believe this mistake, because we still believed this must have been a mistake. Couldn't rectify itself. Parental intrusion was the last thing we needed in this embarrassing situation. We began to apologize, plead innocence, and insist it had been a mistake all at the same time. We were a chorus of babble and begging. More reasons were given for being in that yard that day than there are yards in Barataria. Every time someone came up with something that sounded airtight, we chorused agreement, and sometimes even embellished an already good excuse. She remained, strangely to us, dead silent. Finally, we stopped tripping over each other's apologies, and we retreated out of earshot. She ignored us. Arguments and daylight were both in short supply. Solomon began to anticipate his cut ass aloud. That didn't help things any. Carl began to cry. His panic was more palpable than what gripped the rest of us. Happy George, as everyone called his father, regularly beat Carl and his trouble-seeking sister Irma with a length of electric cord. We shuffled back to the gate, getting bolder because of our need for a quick solution. We walked right up to the 5 or 6 steps which led to the veranda. Tears now ran down Carl's cheeks instead of the juice from the Julies he had anticipated he would be eating. Pleading of a kind you never heard spewed forth from all of us. Solo wouldn't stop talking about his cutter, knowing it was assured if he went home without his books. Bartow tried as hard as he could to slink into the spaces between us so Mrs. Michaels wouldn't see him. She knew his parents well. I was no less scared than the rest of them, but I knew panic offered no answers. This was the time to pull a beat. It was probably going to be the boldest thing I'd ever done in my 10 years on the planet, the last hour of which seemed to have dragged on for an eternity. I decided to confront Mrs. Michaels in the only way I thought would elicit her respect. I suggested that had her two sons been caught in a similar situation, she would not have liked them to go through the kind of torture she was inflicting on us. I appealed to her maternal instincts from all angles. I told her how worried our parents must already be at such a late hour. And last but not least, I promised to ensure the absolute sanctity of her property. She wasn't at all amused by the irony of such a gratuitous boast, but she was moved both by the power of my logic and its extremism. With dire warnings of what the consequences might be if she ever caught us trespassing again, Mrs. Michael returned our books. The four of us, of course, later took out all the agony of that stressful encounter on the hides of Vincent and Beef.
Contributed by me to this anthology is called The Death and Birth of Conrad Graham. This story owes its existence to the juxtaposition of the dying John Oliver Killings and an assignment to teach about plants. I met John Oliver Killings 3 months before I was saddened by the rumor that he was dying of cancer. On a September morning, when he was in the hospital, I stood in the science room BS 138, leafing through a textbook on plants. About 15 minutes before the students came in, I sat down and wrote. Conrad Graham, who character this story. Conrad Graham, since the end of August, noticed a stirring in his stomach. After adjustments, it read like this. Conrad Graham, a tall, slender eater of English apples, had since the end of August noticed a stirring in his stomach. It was not at all painful, nor totally uncomfortable. It merely felt as if something was slowly, silently, discreetly making a life for itself in his stomach. He realized that maybe he would have to accommodate a new change in his body. As he was sitting with his mother in the center of a sunny Sunday afternoon, looking out from the veranda at the aquamarine sea. Because it was Sunday and sunny, and his mother was sitting next to him, dressed in flowered print, he concluded that he was mainly having an attack of gas. He described the sensation to his mother, who sat opposite him in the veranda of the stately manor house, built of wallable wood by his dead father. His mother, plump and preoccupied, reading Agatha Christie, her large back to the white sun, lifted her round face and looked at him with large attentive black eyes over wire glasses. Go and see Dr. Macmillan, she said. Why? He will only tell me I have worms. Maybe you do. Maybe you do, his mother mumbled, sinking back into the depths of mystery. With doctors you need luck, Conrad insisted. They tell you what's wrong with you, and they experiment on you his mother didn't look up. Only the lucky survived, Shimon. Yes, Conrad said, and in August I don't feel very lucky. The butler did it, his mother said. Conrad did not go to the doctor. Conrad did not go to the doctor. For the next few weeks, he concentrated on his work. Afterwards, he hung around with his friends at Beach Bum's back. And after a few rum and cokes, he argued concretely about theoretical assumptions, convinced that if he ignored whatever it was and continued a regular routine, the problem with his stomach would go away. By the end of the week, the curiosity got better of him. As he sat at his desk working, he probed his stomach with his forefinger and thought that he discovered a lump from which he could trace thread-like tentacles branching downwards towards his legs. To put this contextually, I want to shift a bit and look at cultures like men. When threatened by disruptive changes, have two choices. They can marshal their defenses by calling on their God, which includes the flag, the beauty of their country, and the people, a sense of betrayal, or they can go to war. These two choices, an appeal to the gods and a call to war, are obvious in the boycott of the two Korean shopkeepers, the boycott being a call to war, and the popularity of Kente cloth among the demonstrators, a call to the ancestral gods. It was interesting to note on Saturday at the rally, at the site of the boycott, the Haitian flag and the Black Liberation flag would fly. And Muslims, member of Louis Farrakhan said, invoke the greatness and the mercy of Allah before condemning the Koreans and calling on the will and the greatness of Africans to resist. In the Korean store window, also, there were pious prayers written on white paper. It read, God is love. The individual within the culture, threatened by an ailment that could lead to impending death, is also given two similar choices. He can appeal to his God, or he can go to the doctor. What constitutes the Caribbean today was produced by an effort of the African people and native Caribbeans calling on their God and going to war to rid themselves of the European ailment. And the effort of the European ailment and the effort of the European ailment to survive impose itself, calling on the same two forces, creatures and guns. Of the many combinations of these two choices, Conrad Graham first chooses to go to the priest. After the Mass had ended, he waited for Father Placid, standing in a courtyard outside the vestry, beside the fish pot filled with floated purple flowers. He probed his stomach with his forefinger, trying to decipher for certain if something was in fact growing there. The faithful slowly left the sanctuary of the church, and Father Placid, tall in his white robes, with soft chiseled wrinkles like waves over his forehead, came hurrying through the courtyard. Father, I must confess, Conrad said. He followed the priest's long white robes. Too late. The confession box is closed for a day. Come back tomorrow between 3 and 4. That's not the problem, Father. Father Placid reached the door of the vestry and stopped. Turning the doorknob, he said to Conrad, Son, there are 3 things that rule man: God, the bowels, and the bladder. Well, you see, Father, the problem is, talk quickly, son. I have to pee. have worms, he said, removing the stethoscope from his ear. Doctor, there is something growing in my stomach. I can feel it right here. The doctor pressed his hands on Conrad's stomach. Conrad held his frail hand and guided him to the lump. Dr. Macmillan nodded, walked over to his cluttered desk, and found a rubber hammer. He walked back to Conrad and struck his knee, the knee jerk. You have a bad case of Mexican worms. You not only need worm medicine, but a strong dose of salt to purge your bowels. The doctor wrote the prescription, handed it to him. Take this Saturday night, and on Sunday morning, stay near the outhouse. It will make your bowels growl like thunder. Conrad was warmed by the good news. He said goodbye to the doctor, and was leaving the office when he forced himself to say, Doctor, I think the problem is worse than that. The old doctor shrugged helplessly, calling out the troubles of the world with his eyes. Maybe, but take the medicine anyway, and come back to see me by next week. Conrad sat inside and left with a lukewarm hope. On that Saturday morning, under the impatient eyes of his mother, he examined the label of the bottle of medicine, trying to determine whether the dispenser had correctly deciphered the doctor's writing. Conrad concluded that he had, since the dispenser's writing was as bad as the doctor's, and he didn't understand either. Slowly he lifted his head back, squeezed his nostrils shut, put the bottle to his lips, and carried out the ill-tasting act of faith. That evening, his throat was defiant. At the taste of Epsom salt sealed itself shut, he grimaced, fluttered, choked, spat, and groaned before he could empty the glass. That night he slept well. In the morning he awoke to the quivering expectation of his bottom, and a full, stretched stomach bubbling with heavy liquid. Immediately he rushed to the outhouse and released the first barrage. Despite the activity, the outhouse stood as austere as a British butler, as if innocent and unaware of the man inside it. In the outhouse, the forceful contractions of Conrad's stomach stuffed the rest of his body towards it. The tiny, sour, muscular effort of his contracting and forcing upset the silent effort of whatever was growing there. He felt a gentle, tickling sensation all over his body, as millions of threads were moving about under his skin. The tickling spread about the muscles and bones of his chest, and in the minute crevices of the spinal vertebra and the large bones of the thighs and hips. Conrad was amazed, then afraid. His heart began a wild race. Drops of cold water sweat appeared on his forehead. Again, his stomach contracted and relaxed. Unable now to control or resist the tickling, Conrad began to chuckle and then to laugh uncontrollably. His mother rushed to the outhouse and banged on the door. Conrad, open up. Open the door this minute. He unlatched the door. His mother examined him with a look of outraged amazement. As he sat there chuckling and sweating with his bony knees and pants down to his ankles. Is everything all right, she asked. He looked at her, pleading, with pain look in his eyes, and tried to describe what was happening, but his stomach contracted again, and he was caught in a fit of laughter. His mother, confused by the pain and laughter, said, "Have you gone mad, father? Stop it. You sound like an old street hole." When he got out of the outhouse, his mother was waiting with a cup of tea at the dining room table. He drank it and rushed to the outhouse again. By midday, his stomach was resting. That night, he slept smug and vigorous, and the next morning, he woke, hazy and pleasant, after a dream of floating in the translucent field of green grass and yellow flowers. So, he discovers after that the problem is not going away, and catch up with him, we go to page 14. He goes back to the doctor. Conrad opened his mouth. The doctor shone a small light into it. Well, it doesn't look like worms, and I don't know what to say. But I must add that your skin is taken on a greenish blue color. Can you recommend anything? Asked Conrad. No. Sooner or later, doctors realize that all their lives they have been priests. Priests recommend prayer. We recommend laxatives. Same thing. We console the dying with lies, just like the priests. We tell them that they're not really dying. The priests tell them that they're like something else. Okay, so parked his car at the bottom of Jackfruit Hill, got out and looked up. At the top of the hill, he saw the red flag on a tall bamboo pole that I saw him had told him about. But he saw no road leading to it, not even a dirt path. So he makes his way through the path, makes his way without the path through the trees. Eventually, he pushed his way into the clearing and immediately bent to scratch his legs. When Conrad looked up, he saw a man with his back turned, sitting on a stool in front of a small house of rain blackened wood. The front door was the geometry of colors. He noticed also that behind the man was a large old copper basin that was used long ago to boil molasses. He stepped forward towards the man. That's not enough. Stop right there and state your case. The heavy voice seemed to come from the back of the man's head. Conrad had the impression of looking at the mountain's face covered with gray hair. He felt the note as well. Problem. There was a short silence. Then the deep bass of the Obeah man's voice sounded. Well, you know, once I, man, was respected. Now people only come to me when they have impossibilities and absurdities. I bet you went to the doctor already and he can't do nothing. Yes. Yeah. What I tell you, all I get is the rejects. This is disrespect. Once my presence would heal the sick, but now, well anyway, take out the $100 from your pocket. God did as he was told. Okay, here is what you will do. Drink a glass full of your first tea in the morning, mixed with aloe and seawater. The thought of the mixture made Conrad's throat tighten. Looking at the back of Papa's saving head, Conrad asked, will it work? Well, there's a cure for everything, you know, but it's to find it, and it is always the medicine you didn't take that didn't cure you. But it don't matter, you have no choice, drink it. Take your medicine, and the second time you pee, throw it over your shoulder. Alright. Obviously the cure that the Obeah man offers is irrational. But the irrational exists at the very basis of culture. It is what maintains the institutions of our culture. The basis of Christianity, Islam, is the irrational, what can we regard as an irrational, but life exists after death. But we have to probably redefine death. Capitalism is based on addiction, derived from the irrational assumption that well-being can be purchased. Socialism was an irrational effort to create a spiritual man through material means. Even the basic mathematics, but an axiom of mathematics, that 1 and 1 is equal to 2, is an irrational assumption. It is as irrational as love that binds two people together. But such is the task of man. He must define himself in his world. So, does Conrad Graham take the irrational step that will tie him into his culture? Does he drink his tea mixed with molasses? And is he cured of his illness?
We wish to commend our readers for their presentation this evening, and we regret that Dr. Jama Adams is not available this evening because she has been engaged in some pressing duties relating to some of the student problems in some of the other campuses. We're fortunate at Medgar Evers to be enjoying a period of stability. I love to see the stability. Some people dare to call it complacency. But I think it speaks of the general ambiance of the college at this time under the leadership of presentations we want to make are really symbolic of the gratitude we feel as the staff of the Caribbean Research Center to the administration of the college and to the community at large for the support they have given. You who have not lived through the fiscal crisis that the center has experienced in this academic year will not understand the quality of the response that we have received from the President and his administration. But to the insider, his position speaks of a level of commitment to the mission of the Caribbean Research Center that is unequaled by any person born in the Caribbean.
Here, here.
So I don't get into debates about where people are from. I'm far more interested in where they are and what they're doing where they are. And that is the nature of my personal response to the president of this college. We've been able to present these publications to you this evening, not because we had money, not because the college had money, certainly not because the center had money, because I must say it, because the public must understand it. When I assumed the directorship of the center, I found absolutely no money. For programs, for research, publications, and I say that without any apology to anyone. But because of the understanding that the President had, or has, the nature of what we are doing and its value to the community that we serve, we have been able to produce and produce with our chins up. And I want to commend you, sir. And as a token of our appreciation, Dr. Clark, if I might ask you to assist me at this stand.
All right.
As a token of our appreciation, I would like to present you copies of our publications. I'll tell you, these don't really match the contribution he has made. I'll tell you a little more.
This is thoughts and
Sorry.
Thoughts.
You never understand. The printers called me and they said, where is the material? Because we already have the purchase order in our hand. Before I could ask, he had already issued the order. We're going to invite Dr. Ida Hastig to come and receive the presentation on behalf of her husband, who is the chairman of our advisory board, Mr. Roy Hastig. And if we may use this opportunity to sow a seed in the library, because we believe that this library is going to stand out among the libraries of CUNY and of the academic institutions of New York City in terms of its collection of Caribbean materials from now on. I would invite the Chief Librarian, Dr. Nicholas, to receive a presentation from the Caribbean Research Center.
As I mentioned, and I'll say again, that what counts is not format, but content. We'll treasure this in our library also.
I would like to express my very sincere appreciation to all of you for coming out this evening. I see representatives of the diplomatic corps, educators, family people, business people, church representatives, researchers, friends of Medgar Evers, friends of the Caribbean Research Center. We appreciate your coming. You've given a vote in the affirmative for us to continue to build on the foundation that has been laid. We wish to assure you that with your support, we intend to go from strength to strength. I wish to acknowledge the assistance of Professor Ivan Bennett in coordinating this evening's activities. And the unswerving support of Mr. Baisden, who I believe is a product of Medgar Evers, but he has voluntarily given of his time and energy at the center. And even when I offer him a complimentary book, he says, "No, I don't want any pay in any form." And when he gets his break at school, he calls from school, "How are things going at the center? Is there anything I can do? Any flyers I can give out? Anywhere I can help to get the mail going?" You know, it's that kind of support that we get from people who are really community-minded, who've been standing behind us at the Caribbean Research Center. Last but not least, there are a number of faculty members who served as reviewers of the works that you will purchase. Smile. Because that spirit of camaraderie has been strong. But we didn't want to put material out that was not vetted, that didn't scrutiny of the trained eyes of our colleagues within the college. So there are people in social sciences who read the material, critiqued the material, people in education who did the work on education, and we really appreciate your support. I see people like Dr. Loney, Ms. Chambers, and Dr. Harrell, and a few more whose names I see on the records and whose critiques I've read, and who were not always smiling at the things that were written. They really wrote some very firm, solid academic critique. And that is what we want. We don't want people who are going to smile at everything and pat us on our back and say, hey fellow, well done, and then turn their face on the other side and say that's a whole pile of crap. They didn't do that. They gave us solid support in their critique. And without that, an academic institution is bound to falter and fail. If we cannot be honest with each other in our critique, in our evaluation of each other, we're just digging graves for one another. So we really appreciate your support in your reviews and critiques. I've spoken long enough. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming, but you notice I enjoy it, so I was just praying that you would enjoy it. What we do have that you might enjoy is the reception through the courtesy of our president. We invite you to join us in the lobby just outside for sharing fellowship. Thank you very much for coming.
Whatever we have, we will let you borrow, but the moment that you have. Because what we have with one above it and four more before the honorees, we have four honorees. Ruben Diamond, Mr. President, John Henry, and Marlon Pettioli, Dr. Pettioli and Dr. Pettioli. It's going to be on June 23rd. Yes, because I'll send you all the information by the because we still waiting for the come from the president. Okay, fine. Okay. Just congratulate you.
Anybody else around?
Right?
I need you on the stage by the podium.
Dr. Tony?
Ambassador, so you're the ambassador.
there, you're in the way. Next one, move down the line. Not so fast, you're moving too fast. You're moving too fast. Right.
Your Honor, how are you? Hello. Very well, thank you.
Well, all right, everybody in a circle. Everybody come in a circle.
Everybody.
Come more up to the front. In the same. Right. Come forward to the light. Right. All right, that's it. That's it. Yeah.